Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of LLG's Random But Real, where we have conversations about any and all things random with an entree, not a side dish, of mental health advocacy. I use my performance, communication, and literary art skills to bring awareness about mental health and other topics. Therefore, whether I'm singing, speaking, or writing, it's my desire that my words will be melodic, just like music to your ears. And just in case you're wondering, the comments expressed in this podcast or during this podcast are of those of mine and the guests, and they are not intended to be used for professional guidance. If you need to see someone for uh, trauma, or you're experiencing any danger, of course, call 911, or you're just in need of, some care, please seek a licensed professional. If you need a referral, let us know. To send you out or refer you to someone, but we would rather you have the help you need than not have the help you need. And so I've told you all in the other podcast, have my friend here with me. She is going to be the guest host this season. Her name is Erica Wingate. And so she's actually going to start us off tonight. So I'm turning it over to you, Erica.
Well, thank you. And hello, Lisa. It's great to see you, as always. So, tonight I thought it would be great to talk about seasons, changes, if you will, right? We're entering the fall season, soon getting closer to winter. And let me just say right here, right now, I am a summer baby. And so, summer and spring are my seasons. I can appreciate fall, winter, I kind of struggle. But it's not even about those kind of seasons, right? It's about the seasons of life. So let me start off by saying, I like your lip color. It's popping. And that just goes to show a season in my own life. I remember vividly growing up, being a teenager. My mother did not drive very far distances. So she would drive from our apartment in Montgomery County up the street to the shopping center. But when she went, she would want me to go with her because she did not want to go alone because she barely drove. My father did most of the driving, but when she would drive, she would not do it alone. And so I would be in ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, even 12th grade. And my mother was asking me to go to the store with her. And sometimes this would be daily. Like she would go to the store daily. And I could not leave my house without my lipstick on. I remember that time,
That's right.
right? I could not leave. And I used to get my lipstick from People's, which
Okay.
became
Yep. I remember that.
CVS.
Exactly.
9 was my number, 509. And I would have my pop-in lipstick on. But I did put a little lip gloss on because I saw you looking so lovely. I was like, let me do a little something, right? But you probably can't even really see the color on my
Can't
lips,
see
right?
it right now, but we need to make sure that happens next time because I love lipstick. I have over 100
Right. And you
shades.
always have different colors. But that's a season in my life. I have come to a place in my life where I don't even trip off of that anymore. But there was a time in my life where I made sure I had lipstick on, right? So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about seasons. Just like where we are as individuals, as women, as whatever your role is. You can insert anything here as wives, girlfriends, partners, as parents, as aunties, as workers, as church members, or as, organizational members. Like, I just think it's just so real to me now how everything is so cyclical and how seasons come and go. And so that's what I wanted to talk about. Ironically, I was on the phone with a former church member. She's about 10 to 12 years older than me. Can't remember exactly right this moment, but we formed, a really great relationship. We talk frequently and we were catching up today. We hadn't spoken in the past couple of weeks. And she made a comment unsolicited about seasons and
Okay.
changes. And when she said it, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to tell you how that's just confirming for me
That's
what
awesome.
was going to be on this podcast tonight.
Absolutely.
And so I hope that our listeners who tune in, I hope that they can appreciate whatever comes up in our random but real conversations tonight. But I know for me, I'm very routine oriented.
Mm.
Okay. Let me reiterate. I like routine. I drive the same way. And look, if anybody was trying to kill me, they would know how to find me.
Oh
Because
my gosh. Well, we don't want that.
no, we don't want that. But you know what I'm saying? You know how they say you should like vary things up, like, right?
Hmm.
But I like routine. I started my career when I graduated from undergrad. I started my career working with autism, individuals with autism, and they are very routine oriented.
Yeah.
So when I got that job, it worked for me. I was like, y'all want to do the same thing every day? I can help you do that, right? That's perfect for me. But I got into doing things in a routine way. Then I became a mother, eventually of 4. And so some routines were important. Some routines helped me keep my sanity. Like, we got to do this way so it can get done, right?
Mhm.
But outside of that, for me personally, if it's not bad, if it's not broken, if it's not hurting, I don't care if we keep doing it the same way all the time, right? But I recognize that there comes a time when you have to change, right? God created these seasons for a reason. If we had summer all day, every day, we'd never have the chance for things to grow and renew.
Mhm.
If we had winter every day, all day, we'd never have the chance for sunlight and longer days, right? We'd be stuck in that other cycle. And so I know, depending on where you live, your seasons look different, your length of day looks different, stuff like that. But while I like routine, I have come to the age and understanding now that some things have to change. How are we going to cope with those changes, though, Lisa? That's really my question, right?
Yeah, it can be
What are your
difficult.
thoughts about change and routine?
Um, I mean, I think that's true. Like, I didn't grow up liking changes. Like,
Okay.
you know, being flexible, I thought in my head I was, but other people felt otherwise. But I like routine, but I also don't like monotony.
Mm.
So I need things to be different. If I'm exercising, I don't want to exercise the same way every single time. Even if
Mm.
it's the same route, I'm going to go the opposite way. You know what I'm saying? It could be the same streets, but I need to turn it around. I don't want to go on the track 5 times every day, 8 times every day. I would rather switch it up. I'd rather do a different exercise, um, practice. I do drive to work most of the time the same way, but not because I want to. It's just the fastest I'm usually running behind.
Mm.
And so that's, and then some of that is also health related too. By the time I get out, it's like, now you got to hurry up. But I don't want to be rushed, anymore. I want
Yeah.
things to be paced. And I do think that as long as we live, there will definitely be seasons of change in our lives. It's funny when you were talking about the lipstick. Like, I probably have liked makeup since I was, I don't know, 10th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have 100 shades back then. And those that don't know me, I have brown and like, I don't have yellow, but I have gold and I have green and like turquoise and teal and purple. Purple's my favorite. All different shades of
Mm-hmm.
red. Like, I think I probably got like 10 to 12 purple shades. Like, who needs all those shades of purple? Me? I do.
Right.
I need them. And I will spend the money for them. My cousin texts me, she lives in Cali, and she's like, Sephora was having a sale, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, and they like all the lipsticks were like $5 or something like that, and they were $5.95, and it was a plethora of shades.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I can't not have a plethora of shades if they're new. And
Yeah.
so I bought all this lipstick. I was thinking today, I was like, I can't wear 100 different shades of lipstick. Now sometimes I'll mix them and all the other stuff. But one of the things that made me continue, a lot of people don't, I know fashion gurus, they say don't match their
Mm-hmm.
lipstick or their makeup. I like to. I don't care what they say. But I do this also because I'm doing this. Like, this is when you're in the arts, there are certain things that are kind of required that are not, which is why I really didn't want to be honestly on camera. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all good. If you hear the background noise, it's fine. It's LLG, Random but Real. I just
LLG.
want my co-host to calm down. It's okay. I can see their facial expression. It's all good. And sometimes that's what happens, and we're still live, and we're still going to continue. So it's
Yes.
good.
Yes.
But I think that the seasons, as long as we live, they're going to change. And Just like, to everything, there's a season. So we have
Absolutely.
death, we have
And
life, we
and
have,
segue there. I'm trying to
yep,
pull it up right now. I did
Ecclesiastes.
want to
Yep.
reference the scripture
Hmm.
that definitely speaks to that. I don't want to misquote it. So I am going to Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Well, wait a minute. Let me see.
Chapter 3. I think it's 3.
At Ecclesiastes 3. Yes,
Hmm.
yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
And, I only go to this because I know that it speaks to it, right?
Mhm.
This might not be everybody's book that they want to hear from, but I'm
This
just
is a Christian platform, or we're Christians on this platform, and since it's
perfect.
my platform,
Perfect.
it can be whatever we need it to be. And if
Perfect.
you all don't want to watch or listen, then that's fine.
Good to know. So, Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1. To everything there is a season
Hmm.
and a time to every purpose under the heaven. And then it goes on to give all the different things, right? A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted,
Hmm.
a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get up and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And I go to that just because it talks about changes, right?
Hmm.
Seasons changing. So while I am very routine oriented, while I would love for things to stay the same when they're good and not hurtful or harmful or any of that, I understand that things do change even when they're good, right? And so where I am in life, experiencing certain changes, I'm just like, why? Why this got to change? Why this got to happen, right? But I'm learning to embrace it on the same hand. And in my own personal life, in this particular season, I'm experiencing changes that I hadn't anticipated, changes that, if it were up to me, wouldn't have happened. But I'm also learning that sometimes change isn't bad. So I've been working in District of Columbia Public Schools for the past 8 years, doing work that wasn't like my passion, but was involved in the work that I've been doing for 30 years, all in special education. I
Right.
was working in transition for individuals with disabilities from grades 9 to 12, preparing them for life after high school.
Okay.
And the team has changed significantly in the 8 years that I have been there. Directors have come and gone, co-workers have come and gone, managers have come and gone, but I was there just doing the work, feeling good.
Hmm.
Back in June, I was given notice that my position was being eliminated due to budget cuts. And I was devastated.
Right.
I was like, I've never had a bad evaluation. I have great rapport with my families and my students. I do good work. I
Hmm.
have great relationships with the individuals in the schools that I supported. Why is this happening to me? Well, I believe why it happened to me is God was making a change that I myself wasn't making for myself.
Hmm.
10 years ago, I got my master's degree in school counseling. My undergrad degree is in psychology. And when I tell you, in my mind, I saw myself going to school a lot sooner, but I graduated, met my soon to be husband. We had children, bought a home. I was doing the family life thing, put me on the back burner.
Hmm.
Without doing the math in my head, I think it was like 20 years later, I finally went back to get my master's. Something I prayed about, something I cried to God about. Finally go back and get it. Get the master's in school counseling. I started touching on the work just a little bit, but then that's when I ended up in DCPS and I'm doing something slightly different. And I was content, Lisa.
Hmm.
I was just moving right along. Like I said, 8 years in, I was just doing the work.
Right.
Never once touched the school counseling. Now, does the work I do involve aspects of school counseling? Yes. But was I doing the work of a school counselor? No. Right? So when I got the notice in June, as devastated as I was, what could I do? I ended up talking to someone who worked in the school counseling department at DCPS and started me on that journey. And today, I'm 3 weeks in my new position as an elementary school counselor. Right.
Yes.
So I
Yay.
realized though that change that I was so upset about, because I was comfortable, I was settled. And God had to shake that up for me because I didn't shake it up enough for myself. So
Right.
sometimes I think the change comes our way because it needs to.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I also think that sometimes like this is a mental health, podcast or whatever, and so I think people are stuck. It sounds like you were stuck,
I was.
stuck in comfortability because it can be difficult. Change can be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It's necessary to grow, though. No one
It
that
is.
I've ever spoken to that's ever grown in any aspect of life has ever not experienced change. And so, and then also for a Christian, it's like, okay, this is changing, and I gotta trust you, God. Like, you still got my back. You still gonna pay my bills. You still
Mhm.
gonna make sure. Like I told you, I'm proud of you. Hopefully, it's not telling too much, but the fact that you were like, okay, I gotta do this, and you went in and got your test done,
I
because
did.
you can't just be a counselor, a school
Mm.
counselor. You have to take an exam, and she did this from June, and then by August she was done, and she passed, and so I think that is a testament to like who you are. So you might not be as regiment as you think you are, even though you were like, yep, I'm going for my walk, I'm going to study this, I'm going to die. It wasn't always the same time though.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So you probably are more open to change than you think, but you also are, look, I'm trying not to die. I'm not diagnosing you,
It's okay.
friend.
It's
I'm
okay.
just, but you are, doing the same. This is what we do, y'all. Like when we
Yeah.
talk on the phone, like Erica tell me something, I'll tell her something, usually I'll just talk about me. I cry and then come
You'll
back.
see these tears in my eyes right now.
Nope, I wasn't even looking. And then we come back to like a different, I guess, understanding. And it's cool to have a friend where you can just like be yourself
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
whatever. But I think you're probably more open to change than you think. But I think that staying stuck in such a place for such a long time,
Yeah.
although 8 years is what, isn't that the sign of completion, the new beginning? I mean, new beginning.
And that's what I had to, I had to kind of look at that. Like, to be very honest, again, I've been working in my career for 30 years, special education,
Mhm.
30 years, but I have not been on any job longer than 8 years.
Wow.
I've moved from one agency to another. I think I
That
spent,
in of itself is a blessing because, I mean, jobs didn't come that quickly to me. So that's a blessing.
yeah, yeah. And I don't take it lightly, but you're right. Like, I was stagnant. I mean, again, I was doing the work. Each year is a new year. Some staff come and go. I meet
Mhm.
new students along the way, but yeah, maybe I was getting too comfortable in what I did and how I did it. Maybe I was getting too relaxed. I don't know, but God knew. And I just have to tell you, even though I'm only 3 weeks in, I am so thankful to finally be walking in this school counselor path. Like, I'm
That's
having a
awesome.
great time learning this kind of work in
Okay.
this way. So I was
That's
doing
good.
high school
Right.
previously, been doing high school for more years than the AIDA DCPS. I did it 7 years prior in non-public settings. So I've been doing high school for a long time. Now that I'm doing elementary school, and the fact that I no longer have babies of my
Oh
own,
my goodness.
these little babies, they're just so precious. You get hugs, all day, every day. And
Mhm.
so it's a change that I would not have initiated, but I am embracing.
That's good. I think that is great. Changes, it's good. I mean, I'm going through some changes myself, like
Yeah.
physically, emotionally,
Yeah.
mentally. We
Yeah.
pre-record this podcast, but during this time, this is, and I mentioned it before, like the 2 weeks. Even though I think I'm gonna be good, I've had some emotional days from not, the last day that I heard my mom's voice to the day
Mhm.
that she died, and this is in that time period, and so wondering when will I not feel that way again is another
Yeah.
change. Like when I'm tired of crying or having random episodes of grief. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Relationship changes. One day we just need to talk about these people out here because these men. Ooh, I know they say we're a lot, but my goodness, my goodness. But anyway, I met somebody else, so
Okay.
I'll tell you about that off air, and we'll see what happens there. But I'm not even looking for anything. Like, I think it's great to have friends.
Hmm.
Um, I just want people to be consistent,
Yeah.
whatever it is. My friendships, my family. Um, I've reached out to my cousin, who is no longer speaking to me because where they live. Well, I reached out to several cousins. They were like close in the path of the hurricanes.
Yeah.
And so I just normally I would check on them, but this
Hmm.
particular cousin, and we may talk about this one day too, deleted me off of social media, and we haven't spoken because they didn't agree with something that I decided to tell them. But I decided to be true to myself and still reach out. And I didn't get a response, not that I expected one,
Yeah.
um, but that is a change as well. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so it's just been interesting to it's interesting to see how some people take things and
Hmm.
how others don't. And I'm learning that you really can't. I mean, I've known it, but I know it. You can't control anybody else. Parents can't even control their children. Honestly, you are there to train the child and to
Right.
train the child in the way they should go. So when they grow up, they won't depart from it. You're
Yes.
not there to, you teach them things, you help them, you want them to be independent, human
Hmm.
beings. And that sometimes comes with a thought process, and it should, I feel.
Hmm.
And although I don't have children of my own, I have done a lot of parenting and
Yeah.
family, counseling over the years when I was a counselor. And so sometimes I'm just like, it's everybody's choice to do the things that they're going to do. Either the child is going to obey what their parents say, or they're not. They're going to be disobedient.
Yeah.
And then, what they say, which one call is a soft behind? I can't think of the slang.
A hard head makes a
Yes,
soft behind. Is that?
maybe I think that is it.
I don't
So,
know.
and so if you don't want to listen,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It comes out in a completely different way. But I think that changes, I mean, there's so many, like
Yeah.
familiar changes. I think one of the things I've learned, I have a brother. He's my only brother.
Hmm.
I've always been like, dang, I kind of wonder what it would be like if I had a sister like you do, in
Yeah.
that sense, because I feel like when you grow older, males tend to just focus on their family.
Hmm.
Whereas if well, I'm not going to say males, same sex is different than when you have opposite sex siblings.
Okay.
Opposite sex siblings, when I've talked to other people, they don't really hang out as much.
Hmm.
They maybe, yes, family functions, but
Hmm.
like the little things that I think like my brother and I used to do, we don't do now because he has a whole family to focus
Right.
on.
Right.
Whereas when you have the same sex, there it's just, if y'all like the game, then y'all might still just go to the game together. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? If you like, it's important. I also learned that, and I learned this even when I was doing adult development. When I was becoming a counselor, a lot of men lose their autonomy. They focus just on their family when they get
Hmm.
married, whereas females, I mean, they sometimes do too, but then if their spouse dies, all they did was focus on their spouse and their family, and so
Yeah.
then their autonomy, they're just like, what do I do now, or whatever. Whereas I think females have had to juggle so much,
Hmm.
in all their changes when you're a mom and your daughter and your caregiver and your, you know what I'm saying, all the stuff that you do, have a job, all this stuff. I think that it might be a little bit easier for us to find something else when those changes happen. But I haven't seen that, and that's just my experience, my observation. I
Right.
haven't seen that as much with my male counterparts.
So I had the opposite experience. I have a sister, two
Mhm.
sisters. I have an older sister and a younger sister. I was raised up with my younger sister in the home. So it wasn't until I had sons and daughters that I even saw the dynamic
Mhm.
between brothers and sisters, right?
Mhm.
And my children do not have children of their own, so they don't have their own family. So they're still kind of cohesive in doing the things that they do with each other. But yeah, that's a very interesting dynamic, and I wonder what would life have been like. And I think I can't recall if you had in one of your podcasts similar type conversation. Maybe it's another conversation for us down the road. But my mother was a woman who suffered a lot of miscarriages.
Mhm.
I myself have not suffered any, but had my mother not suffered the miscarriages that she suffered, I would have been the oldest of seven children. Okay. Mind you, I have one younger sister.
Yeah. Wow. That's
And in that number, I would have had two brothers. Right. So, yes, my life was very, I was a sister and a mother, if you will, because we're 9.5 years apart. So she was
right.
really like my little baby
Mm-hmm.
as we grew older or whatever. So our dynamic was what it was. Having
Yeah.
sons, though, I mean, I had male cousins. I had male
Right.
cousins that I was close to, that I've been around, but having sons in my household really opened my eyes to the dynamics of
Yeah.
males and females. I had uncles, all that. But yeah, I
Yeah.
can
It's
see
different. I mean, we're
it
still
is different.
close, and but we don't hang out as much as we used to.
But
If
that's part
I'm,
of the season changes too
yeah,
that I
yeah.
think about, right? Because even with my cousins growing up, what do they say? Cousins are your first best friends,
Mm-hmm.
right? You spend a lot of time with your cousins. Growing up, I spent a lot, probably every day of my life, honestly, with a cousin. More on my mother's side initially, but I spent quite a bit of time younger with my father's side. But as we all got our own individual families, as I got into my 20s, started having my own kids, like we started doing more silo type things.
Mm-hmm.
And so now on my mother's side, people that I literally was probably with every day of my life growing up, I don't see them as often.
Mm-hmm.
But I do spend more time as an adult with my father's side cousins. We are more intentional on my father's side. Now, mind you, you might recall both of my parents are deceased. And sometimes it's just like these seasons of change within a
Like gut
family,
punches.
they're hard.
They
It's
are.
very hard to not
Absolutely.
have my cousins, not have my parents, not have aunts and uncles that I was used to
Being around
growing
you.
up, right? To be
Absolutely.
without them is really hard. But like you said, it's life. And like the word said, there's a time for everything. Like, this is life. This is what happens. So, yeah, there's times where I can just embrace change, like it's all good. And then there's times where I'm just like, I want to go back.
Feel you. I definitely understand that. Yeah, I would go back with a lot of the guys that I dated. I would have changed a few of those situations, the seasons, but I'm also grateful because I've learned a lot,
Yeah.
over the years, and God has kept me, even though I've gone through some really bad situations. I realize that it could also be worse. And I
Yeah.
think that your question in the beginning was just like, how do we deal with those changes? And I just want to spend a few minutes talking about that.
Yeah.
And then we'll get out of you all's hair. But yeah, like, so how do you deal with some of the changes
Mm.
that you talked about?
Well, I'm very optimistic. You're my friend, but my other friends, the crew, the girls will tell you I am probably the most optimistic of the crew. I'm the, bright side of things kind of person for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I try to be that for myself. And so I try to encourage myself, in any kind of change. So when I found out I was losing my job, I tried to be okay with it. I try to be like, God has something better for me, and whatever it is, I'm excited and I'm ready. But then I was just like, what?
Reality hits.
Right, the reality hit. But I do try to look at the bright side of things. I do try to look at the growth of things. I mean, growth is important. Even in my routine, I understand growth. I appreciate growth. I don't want anyone to stay stagnant, certainly not myself, right? So I try to look at the positives and try to listen and feel and hear from God what the point and the purpose of this particular change might be. But I also sometimes just lament. Like that's how I get through sometimes, honestly. Like I just have to lament about it. Like I don't want this to be the case. I wish this were the case. I go back a lot. Like I remember when and I wish and I regret and
Right.
I wonder, I do that a lot. But I just try to get myself on the other side of that and move forward. Because what can I do, honestly?
Right.
Like
Right. You can't
um
change what's already been
can't change what's already.
planned.
But for the things that changed that I can maybe bring back in a good way, I will do my effort and my part. So sometimes it's just loss of communication, right? Like one of my children, they made a comment about how they're tired of being the friend that always checks in on others and no one ever checks in on them. And I get that, right? I get it and I respect it. But what I said to that particular child of mine, I won't say he or she because then I'll be giving it up that it's one or the other. But what I said to that child of mine is, but sometimes that's who we might be as a person. And I'm that person. I'm probably going to reach out to people more than they reach out to me. You know, people that I've drifted from, right? People that we've drifted from. I'm going to be the one to kind of reach back out, check up on maybe because I'm always thinking about what was. And I miss that and I want that. So I got to kind of go back and get that. Right? But some things we just have to let go of. Some friendships I've lost over the years that I did not want to lose or didn't think I should lose. I realized that this was probably for my good. It was probably for the best. And so I let that go. I don't reach back out for that. I don't check back up on them. I don't try to recreate what we had because what we had served its time. It was for a time, and that time has ended.
Understood.
And that's that's any relationship possibly, but for me specifically it's some friendships. So I've learned to let go, and I've learned to embrace what I do have because I've got some great things going on now. Right?
You absolutely do. You always have, though.
I always have,
at least since I've known you. So
yeah, but when you lose certain things you feel like the loss sometimes.
Absolutely. And I was going to say that this that was a loss. And so hearing news of something that I want that I'm not going to get is a loss. You think something's going to work out. And this week, actually, a former friend is celebrating their anniversary. And 2 years ago, they may see this, they may not. I was asked to sing at the celebration, and we don't speak anymore. That was their decision. It is what it is. But there are times where I really miss that individual.
Yeah.
And just the words that were said to me were probably more hurtful than anything. But we'll maybe talk about that another show. I've learned I wish her nothing but the best, her spouse nothing but the best. I've said this before, and all of 2024, I will no longer insert myself into people's spaces, lives that don't want me there. And so, if that means that that's that, and our relationship is over, thank you for the time that we spent.
Yeah.
And I mean that even with guys that I've dated, it's not. I was talking to somebody, and they were just like, "Well, call me. I want to know X, Y, and Z." And I'm like, "You have my number too. So if you want to talk, then you can pick up the phone. I'm not doing it. Don't matter how I feel about you. Doesn't mean I won't ever check up on people. Because I check up on people even when I'm going through.
Yeah.
As I know and I think that that's what real friendship is about.
Yeah.
But I'm also not going to be the guinea pig for anybody anymore. And I'm fine with that. Like that might be the last time I speak to my cousin or try to reach out. You can't continue to do stuff and then get slapped in the face and then expect to continue.
True.
We don't agree, and that's okay that we don't agree.
Yeah.
But yes, changes, seasons definitely do change. Change can be difficult, but it can also be beneficial for growth. And so I think that those are like the three things that I would, or that I walk away with seasons changing. Did you want to have any closing remarks or something?
Yeah, I would close by saying this, that while I am routine oriented, while I love for things to stay the same if they're not hurtful, harmful, or, limited, if you will, I have learned and I am embracing that change is actually good because some of those desires that we've planted or thought or felt for years won't come until later. And that's part of the change. And that's what I'm recognizing in this season in my life. Again, getting a degree over 10 years ago, feeling that I wanted to do certain work, but staying comfortable where I was But now getting the opportunity to walk that path is a welcomed change.
That's
And it's an answer to a prayer that I had given God so long ago. And in realizing that this prayer is finally being answered, well, then I start looking around at the other things in my life that are happening. Well, what other prayers are being answered in ways that I couldn't have anticipated, but are being shown to me through change, right? So, to anyone going through change right now, coming out of change, or getting ready to go through change, I just want to encourage you. I just want to encourage you that change is okay. If you're a person like me who didn't want it, right? But if you're a spontaneous person who liked it and whatever, you were already looking forward to it, right? But change is okay. Change can be good. Um, but change can also happen on our terms. Like, we don't have to let the outside forces dictate all of the change. We can have some input into the change that's happening. So I just encourage us all to embrace it and to navigate it to the best of our ability. And if anything about the change, like you said, with the mental health piece, if anything about change is overwhelming, if you're feeling like high anxiety about change, there are definitely people that can help you navigate that, right? And I would encourage anybody to explore that, to not feel alone and burdened by the change.
absolutely, absolutely. I think that's good. I hope that you all have enjoyed this edition of LLG's Random But Real. This drops every other Wednesday. We'll see, whatever the other topics are, they are literally random but real. We might have like a idea and then we don't write down anything or plan anything. We just want it to come from our hearts. Please like, share, subscribe. You can find us on Spotify, Podbean, Amazon, YouTube, and you know, this this is a good year. It's going to be a great end of the year, I should say. And then please visit my website, www.lisalgilliam.com. That's Gilliam, as in Mary. And then follow me on all social media platforms. Well, Facebook, TikTok. So I'm not on all of them. Instagram and what else? And X at One Singing Lady. That's the number one singing lady, or the numeral one. So I hope that we hear from you, that you all leave a comment if you want to leave a comment, or hit us up on social media. We love to hear from you, or go sign the guest book on the website and let us know how this episode blessed you. And share this with somebody else, please. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Erica. I will see
Thank
you
you.
next time.
Yes,
And this
ma'am.
is Lisa, One Singing Lady Gilliam, out.
Erica out.